Men over 60. If your mornings don't feel the way they used to, if that first cup of coffee no longer leaves you energized, but instead sets you up for a mid-morning crash, or if you notice less pep, less confidence, or more stiffness, you're not stuck. Think of your body like an old but beloved classic car. The engine still runs, but the fuel and tune-up it needs have changed with time. The good news is you don't have to give up the ritual you love. With a few simple kitchen ingredients, the very cup you drink every morning can become a small, science-backed tool to support circulation, steady energy, and the hormonal balance that tends to shift as we age. Here's a brief map of why mornings change, and then I'll show you the exact step-by-step way to upgrade your coffee safely. As a clinician who's worked with men in their 60s and beyond, I want to be clear. These changes may help, they're supported by research and clinical experience, but they're not a guaranteed cure. They're a practical, low-risk way to support the physiology that often becomes less resilient with age. As we move past 60, a few physiological shifts commonly converge. Testosterone slowly declines, blood vessels become less flexible, and the body produces less nitric oxide, a key molecule that helps blood vessels relax and improves blood flow. Many older men also experience subtle insulin resistance or larger blood sugar swings, which affect energy and vascular health. Lastly, caffeine doesn't behave the same way it did at 30. For some men, it hits harder and drops faster, producing that jitter crash cycle. When you combine reduced vessel flexibility, lower nitric oxide, and altered blood sugar handling, you end up with mornings that feel rougher and less reliable. The fix isn't a miracle, it's about stacking small, evidence-informed changes that together make your morning cup do more for you than it did before. If that sounds familiar, type yes in the comments, or tell me, what do you add to your coffee now? I'll read a few answers and respond. Now let's walk through 5 pantry ingredients that, when added thoughtfully, can turn a standard cup of coffee into a beverage that supports circulation and helps stabilize energy. Each ingredient has a simple explanation, a conservative dose, a taste note so it's pleasant, and a safety note. The 5 are Ceylon cinnamon, unsweetened cocoa or raw cacao, maca powder, coconut oil or MCT oil, and ginger. I'll also give you a safe 4-week rollout plan so you can introduce them one at a time and observe how your body responds. Cinnamon. Start small, steady blood sugar, and add warm spice. Cinnamon, particularly true or Ceylon cinnamon, contains compounds that can modestly help stabilize post-meal blood sugar and may have a mild vasodilatory effect. In practical terms, that means it can help reduce spikes and crashes after your breakfast, which often translates into steadier energy and less strain on your blood vessels. If that sounds familiar, type yes in the comments, or tell me, what do you add to your coffee now? I'll read a few answers and respond. Now let's walk through 5 pantry ingredients that, when added thoughtfully, can turn a standard cup of coffee into a beverage that supports circulation and helps stabilize energy. Each ingredient has a simple explanation, a conservative dose, a taste note so it's pleasant, and a safety note. The 5 are Ceylon cinnamon, unsweetened cocoa or raw cacao, maca powder, coconut oil or MCT oil, and ginger. I'll also give you a safe 4-week rollout plan so you can introduce them one at a time and observe how your body responds. Cinnamon. Start small, steady blood sugar, and add warm spice. Cinnamon, particularly true or Ceylon cinnamon, contains compounds that can modestly help stabilize post-meal blood sugar and may have a mild vasodilatory effect. In practical terms, that means it can help reduce spikes and crashes after your breakfast, which often translates into steadier energy and less strain on your blood vessels. Several clinical groups and reviews have noted cinnamon's potential role in metabolic health. The important caveat is the type and dose. Cassia cinnamon, the more common grocery variety, contains higher levels of coumarin, which in large amounts can be a problem for the liver. For daily use, choose Ceylon cinnamon when possible and keep your dose conservative. I recommend about a quarter teaspoon stirred into your coffee. Taste-wise, cinnamon adds a warm, sweet, slightly floral note that most men find appealing. One patient I worked with, a 68-year-old who'd struggled with annoying mid-morning sugar cravings, said his cup felt a little like dessert but without the crash. Safety reminder: if your pharmacy list includes blood-thinning medications or you have significant liver disease, check with your provider before daily cinnamon. Cocoa, raw cacao. Turn your cup into a nitric oxide booster. Unsweetened cocoa or raw cacao is rich in flavonoids that support nitric oxide production in the endothelium, the inner lining of blood vessels. Increased nitric oxide helps vessels relax, which improves blood flow and can make your limbs feel warmer and more responsive. Research published in vascular and hypertension journals has repeatedly linked cocoa flavonoids to improved blood flow in older adults. Practically, I suggest 1 level teaspoon of unsweetened cocoa powder per cup. Use a high-quality, low-heat processed raw cacao if you can, and avoid instant hot chocolate mixes that are loaded with sugar and dairy. The taste is chocolatey and slightly bitter. If you prefer sweetness, choose a non-glycemic option like stevia or a tiny amount of monk fruit sweetener. One man in his early 70s I follow reported that adding cocoa made his coffee feel fuller and that his hands felt less cold during his morning walk. Anecdotal, but consistent with the vascular effects flavonoids can have. Safety note: cocoa can interact with certain medications and may be stimulant-like. Keep track of how you sleep and any palpitations, and reduce or stop if you notice adverse effects. Maca powder, the slow builder for hormonal resilience. Maca is a Peruvian root that's been used traditionally as an adaptogen. That means it's thought to help the body adapt to stress and support endocrine balance over weeks rather than overnight. Clinical research, including studies reported in journals concerned with male reproductive health, suggests maca may have modest benefits for aspects of male hormonal function and libido in older men, though results vary by individual. I typically recommend introducing maca gradually. Start with 1 level teaspoon 2 to 3 times per week and observe for a few weeks. There are different types: yellow, red, and black maca is often associated with stronger effects on stamina, while red may be easier on the prostate in some reports. Taste-wise, maca has a nutty, malt-like flavor that complements cocoa and cinnamon. A patient vignette. A 62-year-old retired teacher began adding maca twice a week, and after a month noted better endurance on his morning walks and fewer mid-afternoon energy dips. Important caution: if you have prostate issues or are on hormone-sensitive treatments, discuss maca with your urologist before regular use. Coconut oil or MCT oil, creamy fats that stabilize and feed the system. Medium-chain triglycerides, whether from coconut oil or a concentrated MCT oil, provide quick, efficient fuel. They also slow the absorption of caffeine slightly, which can smooth out the peak and crash cycle. Additionally, dietary fats serve as building blocks for hormone synthesis. This doesn't mean a single tablespoon will cause a huge change in testosterone, but as part of an overall balanced diet, healthy fats are necessary for optimal endocrine function. Start low, half a teaspoon in week 1 to test tolerance, then increase to 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon depending on how you handle it. Blend it into hot coffee. The emulsion created by a quick blender or milk frother makes the cup creamy, almost latte-like. Taste-wise, coconut oil adds a mild, rounded mouthfeel and a subtle coconut note. MCT oil is largely neutral. Safety caution: MCTs can cause stomach upset if introduced too quickly, and they add extra calories, so consider your overall dietary pattern. If you have concerns about lipids, monitor your cholesterol and discuss with your clinician. Ginger, warmth that reduces inflammation and supports circulation. Ginger has long been used for its anti-inflammatory and circulation-promoting properties. In older men, a small daily amount can help reduce systemic inflammation and may support circulation and even aspects of testosterone signaling, according to some studies. Use a very conservative dose, a quarter teaspoon of fresh grated ginger or powdered ginger stirred into your coffee. It adds a spicy warmth that pairs well with cinnamon and cocoa. Safety note: ginger has mild blood thinning properties and can interact with anticoagulant medications. If you're taking blood thinners or have bleeding risks, consult your healthcare provider before making it a daily habit. How to combine these ingredients so they're pleasant, effective, and safe. The easiest approach is to introduce one ingredient per week. Start with cinnamon in week 1, then add cocoa in week 2, introduce maca in week 3, 2 to 3 times that week, and finally add the coconut or MCT oil plus ginger in week 4. This staged integration helps you notice what's helping, and it limits the risk of digestive upset from too many changes at once. A simple daily recipe you can use once you've introduced all ingredients is this. Brew your usual cup of coffee, about 8 to 12 ounces. While it's hot, stir in 1/4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon and 1 level teaspoon of unsweetened cocoa. Add a level teaspoon of maca 2 to 3 days a week, rotating between yellow and black if you want variety. And on the days you add maca, you might skip it if you plan to take it later in the day to avoid any sleep disturbance. Add half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of coconut oil or MCT oil, blending until emulsified. Finish with a 1/4 teaspoon of fresh grated ginger or a light dusting of powdered ginger for warmth. Taste and adjust slowly. A tiny pinch of stevia or monk fruit can be used if you prefer sweetness without sugar. The resulting cup is a spiced mocha with creamy texture, warm depth, and a slow, steady lift rather than a sharp spike. If you're trying this for the first time, a practical 4-week schedule looks like this. Week 1, cinnamon every morning. Week 2, cinnamon plus cocoa every morning. Week 3, cinnamon, cocoa, and add maca 2 to 3 times that week to test tolerance and timing. Week 4, cinnamon, cocoa, maca as used, and add the coconut/MCT oil plus ginger. From week 4 onward, you have your full routine. Expect to notice a smoother energy pattern fairly quickly. Some men report less jitter and a more even mood within days of adding the fats and cinnamon. Nitric oxide-related blood flow improvements from cocoa often translate into perceptible warmth or reduced cold hands in a few days to a couple of weeks. Hormonal and adaptogenic changes from maca are the slowest to show and may take several weeks to months to feel consistent. For men over 60, be patient. Physiological shifts can be slower, so allow the system 4 to 8 weeks to adapt and then evaluate. As you try this routine, watch for 3 categories of signals: digestive response, sleep and heart rhythm, and medication interactions. Digestively, MCT oil and coconut oil can cause mild stomach upset, loose stools, or a feeling of fullness if you increase too quickly. Start with half a teaspoon and titrate slowly. For sleep and rhythm, cocoa and caffeine still matter. Keep total caffeine intake reasonable and avoid late-day coffee. If you notice palpitations or increased anxiety, cut back on coffee or caffeine sources and reassess. Regarding medications, be cautious. Cinnamon in high doses can be an issue in people with liver disease. Ginger and cinnamon may interact with blood thinners, and compounds that affect nitric oxide can alter blood pressure medications. Don't stop or change prescription medications on your own. Instead, discuss this habit with your provider so they can advise on interactions and monitoring. As you try this, let me give you 3 short, anonymized examples from my clinic to illustrate typical outcomes while keeping expectations realistic. Harold, 68, had been drinking black coffee every morning and experiencing a steep energy drop by 10 a.m. We introduced Ceylon cinnamon and a teaspoon of unsweetened cocoa. Within a week, he reported a notable reduction in his mid-morning crash and said his coffee felt more grounded. He added maca twice a week in month 2 and over 3 months described better endurance on his daily walks. Mike, 62, started with cinnamon and MCT oil, and he immediately noticed less jitter from caffeine and a creamier mouthfeel that replaced his need for sugary creamers. He monitored his lipids with his primary care doctor and found no adverse changes after 3 months. Jorge, 71, tried the full routine but had been on a blood thinner. After discussing it with his cardiologist, he limited ginger and used smaller cinnamon amounts, and still reported warmer hands and improved overall satisfaction with his morning ritual. These are illustrative cases, not guarantees, but they show how modest adjustments can make a meaningful difference for different men. A few practical tips to make the ritual enjoyable and sustainable. Use a small blender or milk frother to emulsify the oil into the coffee. It improves texture and helps distribute flavors. If you don't like the coconut note, start with odorless MCT oil. Buy unsweetened, high-quality raw cacao or Dutch processed cocoa depending on your taste, but avoid instant mixes with sugar. Keep maca on hand and rotate varieties if you like variety. Some men prefer taking maca on workout days or days they have more demanding activities. If you're sensitive to caffeine but like the ritual, try this routine with decaffeinated coffee or a half-caff blend and evaluate the non-caffeine benefits from the other ingredients. Safety and monitoring deserve a clear, conservative approach. Always choose Ceylon cinnamon for daily use when possible, and if you use Casio cinnamon, keep it occasional and low dose. Start fats at half a teaspoon to confirm tolerance, and only increase gradually. If you're taking anticoagulants, antiplatelet drugs, diabetes medications, or blood pressure medications, consult your provider before daily use, because cinnamon, ginger, and cocoa can interact with these therapies. If you experience persistent gastrointestinal upset, new palpitations, dizziness, or any concerning symptom, pause the routine and seek medical advice. If you have gallbladder disease or a history of pancreatitis, discuss the addition of fats with your clinician. For men managing cholesterol, track levels with periodic blood work because adding caloric fats could influence lipid profiles in some individuals. What kind of results should you realistically expect and when? Some changes are immediate and sensory: creamier texture from MCT oil, warm spice from cinnamon and ginger, a fuller mouthfeel, and slight mood lift from cocoa within days. Stabilization of energy and reduced crashes may appear within a week or two, especially once the fats and cinnamon are consistent. Improved blood flow sensations like warmer fingertips or less leg stiffness can show within days to a few weeks thanks to cocoa's flavonoids. Hormonal or adaptogenic benefits from maca are the slowest and may require several weeks to months of consistent use to be noticeable. Importantly, for men over 60, timelines can be longer and effects more gradual. Treat this as a long-term habit rather than a one-time fix. A few common questions I regularly hear. Will this replace my medications? No, these are supportive lifestyle changes, not replacements for prescribed therapies. Can I use instant hot chocolate instead of raw cacao? No, most instant mixes are high in sugar and don't provide the same flavonoid profile as unsweetened cocoa or raw cacao. Is maca safe for men with prostate issues? Different maca types may have different profiles. Some reports suggest red maca is gentler for prostate health, but you should consult your urologist. What about sugar? Try to avoid sugar. If you need sweetness, use a non-glycemic option like stevia or monk fruit. Always be honest with your clinician about supplements and dietary changes so they can monitor for interactions. Before I close, here's a concise, reproducible recipe to keep by your kettle. Brew 8 to 12 ounces of your usual coffee. Stir in 1/4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon and 1 level teaspoon unsweetened raw cacao. Add half to 1 teaspoon of MCT oil or coconut oil to start. Blend until emulsified. Add 1/4 teaspoon fresh grated ginger or powdered ginger, and on 2 to 3 mornings a week, add 1 level teaspoon of maca powder. If you like it a touch sweeter, use a small amount of stevia or monk fruit. Follow the 4-week integration plan. Week 1, cinnamon. Week 2, add cocoa. Week 3, add maca a few times. Week 4, add the oil and ginger and maintain. If you decide to try this routine, give it at least 4 to 8 weeks and track 1 or 2 simple measures: how you feel at 10 a.m. and how you sleep at night, and perhaps one functional marker like the distance of your morning walk or ease of climbing stairs. That will give you practical feedback without needing complex tests. Finally, a note on responsible use and medical oversight. This information is for educational purposes and is not medical advice tailored to your personal health history. Before making daily changes, especially if you are on prescription medications, have chronic conditions, or have concerns about liver, gallbladder, or bleeding risk, consult your healthcare provider. Do not stop or alter prescribed medications without your clinician's guidance. If this approach sounds like something you'd try, let me know in the comments. Tell me yes if mornings feel off right now, or share what you already add to your coffee. I read and respond to many of these messages. If you found this helpful, please hit like and subscribe for more practical, evidence-informed tips tailored to men over 60. And remember, small, consistent changes, the kind you can sustain, are what reclaims steady energy and confidence over time.